YouTube, Reynolds Retouching. I haven't done a how-to video since my scanning video, and I'm going to address some of the comments in that video specifically regarding film, because there seems to be some confusion about that whole process. So specifically how it's done, and can you expose undeveloped film to light before you scan it? No, don't do that, whatever you do. I'm going to show you, if it's black and white, how you can develop it. If it's color, you're probably going to want to send it to a lab, because that's a totally different process. They have bleaches and some other things that are carcinogenic. You need a respirator, and the temperature requirements are a lot different when working with color. You're talking like a 1/4 degree. It can't be off, otherwise you're going to get color shifts. So we're going to stick to black and white, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to do it yourself, and then you can just scan it right into the computer. You can print it with an enlarger, but I'm not going to get into that, and I don't do it anymore. So let's get started. Alright, now the first step is to get your film out of the camera and into the developing tank. You're going to need a developing tank. You can find them on eBay, a bottle opener, and it's kind of funny that I'm standing next to a liquor cabinet. That was not intended, and I'm not making a martini. So to open the developing tank, just take the lid off. You're going to find two reels. Depending on the size of the tank, they come in all sizes. This one's a 235 millimeter reel. I'm only developing one roll, so I'm just going to use one of them. And the last thing you need is a dark closet. You have to make sure it's perfectly dark. You might need a towel to block the bottom of the door. Unlike black and white photographic prints, you can't expose black and white film even to a red light. It has to be perfectly dark. Otherwise, you're going to get what they call fog. It's like a whitewash type effect that makes everything have less contrast. So you need to make sure that there's no light. But let's go do it. And here's my pantry. It's not much, but it'll get the job done. And at least I know that if I get locked in there, I have all the supplies to last me at least a little while. But if you really want to get serious about this, you can paint it black. The rooms we used in college were all painted with a matte black, and that prevents the light from bouncing around if any gets in. You can also paint this rim around the door black to prevent the light from bouncing around. It being white, a little bit could possibly get around there. So you're going to want to create a light block of some sort. Although I didn't have any problems the last time I developed film in here, so it's usually pretty apparent when you get a light leak. But now I'll show you how to roll the film. If you have a roll of film that you don't particularly care about, it's a good idea to practice in the light, because this is the hard part. When you break open the film, you'll need to pinch the edges so it cups, and bring it to the center of the spool. Some spools will have a clip. This one does not. So you just need to kind of hold it there and start to wrap it. And you'll notice that it clings to the spots between the wire, and you can wrap it around like that. So imagine doing this in the dark. It gets a lot more problematic, but you can see it's starting to wind. Sometimes you'll end up with spots that touch each other, and if you have that happen, they're not going to develop right. It usually turns into a big white spot. So you can see the beginning is the hard part. Once you get it to start to wind, it'll kind of go by itself, and you can kind of just guide it. So you would end up with your spooled film just like that. You put it in the tank, put the top on. Once you've done that, you you can open the door and turn the lights on. Alright, so I've got my towel, I've got my tank, developing reels, film, bottle opener. Just note that if you are only loading one reel, that you also put the other one in to keep it from bouncing around. And I'm going to load it up, and when I come back out, we'll do the chemistry. Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention is scissors. There's a little tab on the end of the film that helps it go through the camera. You need to cut that off if you want to roll it onto the reel. I actually had to bite it off because I didn't have any scissors. But once you get your film rolled into the developing tank, you're going to need all of this stuff. We have T-Max Developer from Kodak. We have Stop Bath. We have Photo Fixer and Hardener from Kodak. This is Rapid Fixer. There's another type that takes longer, but this is the faster version. And this is not Gatorade, this is not pomegranate juice, and this is not Pure Leaf or whatever that is. These have already been mixed. There's a mixed ratio that you can look up online. I've already done it because I already ran rolls through here. The developer gets mixed 1 to 4. So 1 part developer to 4 parts water. And for OSHA, I've written T-Max Developer on my little bottle, so it has the chemical written on it. Same with Stop Bath. Stop Bath is going to be 1 to 64 for this type of Stop Bath. And it has acetic acid in it, so you need to be careful, use gloves. The fixer is going to be, this has hardener also, so part A and part B. It's 9 parts part A to 1 part part B, and of that dilution you mix 1 to 3 with water. And so there's also different developing times for these chemicals, but that's basically how it goes. And there's different types of developers, so your developing times are going to change. You can look online to the type of film and it will give you a chart. You need a thermometer and graduated cylinder. This is for mixing the chemicals. Don't use anything that you're going to eat out of. So no cooking measuring tools. Have them strictly for photography. You don't want to be messing with ingestion of these chemicals. They're not as bad as the color photography chemicals, but they're still dangerous. And then we have photo-flo. That's going to be after we run our film this way through the chemicals. We start with the developer, Stop Bath, Fixer, and then photo-flo afterwards. And the thermometer is to make sure that we have the developer the right temperature. We're shooting for 70 degrees, so I've already had this pre-mixed. You can typically just run the thermometer under the faucet and get the temperature right. But if it's pre-mixed, take some cold water or warm, depending on which way you're trying to go, and put your container in there until you acquire the right temperature. So this is, it's pretty hot out. You probably can't tell, but it's almost 90 degrees today. So I'm getting 80 degrees from my developer, so that is too warm, and I got to bring it down in the cold water. So we'll let that sit for a moment. Okay, so the developer is down to 71 degrees. My developer is a little bit old, so I think that extra degree will help me actually. The hotter it is, the more contrast it helps with. Well, it helps decrease your developing time, and the longer you develop, the more contrasty it is. That's a separate subject all in itself, whether you want to underexpose and overdevelop. They're all tricks that you can do, but I'm not going to get too much into that. I mean, ideally, I'm not too worried about the temperature. They say 68 degrees would be ideal, but even your chart has the developing times listed for different temperatures also. So I'm going to do 71 degrees, and the chart online said that 6 minutes with the T-Max developer for Kodak Tri-X 400 ASA film would be 6 minutes at 68 degrees. So 71, it's just going to shorten that a little bit, but I'm not going to shorten it because the developer's over a month old and it's been used once before. So my developer is going into the tank, and you need to time this. I'm using my cell phone, and it should start as soon as it touches the film. Starting. You need to evenly coat the film. This is called agitation of the tank. Motions like this, everyone has their different method. You need to hit it to get the air bubbles off the film because they'll kind of congregate around there, and if they stay there, you're going to notice some odd dots when you look at the film afterwards. Now don't go crazy with the agitation, because if you do too much of it, you're going to notice the edges of your film are very developed, whereas the middle part didn't get so much. So there's a happy medium to this. I really don't obsess over it. Some people are very particular about how they agitate their tanks. But nowadays it's pretty easy to fix most of these things in Photoshop. Alright, so we've reached the 6-minute mark, taking the cap off and pouring it back into the container. So you can move chemicals this way, but not that way. You can't get stop bath in your developer. That would be really bad because you're going to get dots and spots all over your film, which wouldn't be good. So little developer in the stop bath is okay. Little stop bath in the developer, not good. So we're going to pour our stop bath, fill the tank. This gets 30 seconds to a minute. You really don't need to obsess over it. It's just stopping the development process. Alright, we're going to agitate for 30 seconds. Pour your stop bath back out into the container. So we're at about 2 minutes now. My other camera actually died, the battery ran out. So I had to go get the AW1, and now I'm filming with the AW1. But I'm at about 2 minutes now. These things always seem to leak. You'd think they would be tight, but somehow chemicals always find their way around the edge. And in case that died while, I'm not sure when it died, so if that died while I was doing the fixer, I'm on fixer now. The stop bath was 30 seconds, poured that back into the container. Now I'm on fixer. The fixer gets 5 minutes. And you can't expose it to light until you're done with this. So in that process of changing cameras, I had to take my gloves off. Now I've got the fixer on my hands. It's not nothing that hasn't happened before. There's actually photographers who have skin diseases now because they never used gloves with black and white photography. And it's okay at first, but eventually, over the years of doing it, your skin can develop an intolerance to it, and you can get eczema and things like that. So definitely use gloves. Alright, so 6 minutes is up. We're going to dump our fixer. You are now safe to open the lid on your tank. So you can take your lid off. And you need to wash this for a long time to get all the fixer off of there. I mean, at least 10 minutes. You can look it up. I don't obsess over it because I'm just going to scan them in, and this is for archival purposes. Over time, the fixer will change the color of the film if you don't get it all off. And there's another chemical that you can get that actually helps to remove the fixer. But I'm not going to mess around with that. I'm just going to wash it for a long time. I'll do 10 minutes. So this is how I hang it up, and you can see they came out pretty well. This is, it's hard to focus here. Yeah, my pregnant wife, and well, it's a little difficult to see without a light table. This is down here what happens when the film touches in the tank. I'm not really sure what those pictures were going to be, but you can see you get black marks there, so that's going to ruin that negative. At least I did 3 of them, so I think those are 3 of the same shot, different variations. But yeah, pretty consistent exposures, and development looks good. All that's next is to let them dry and scan them in. Alright, this is the very last thing, I swear. Just be sure to check with your local municipality about the disposal of these chemicals. Photo fixer, when used, contains silver, which is removed from the film, which is a heavy metal, which you don't want in the water system. So again, just check with your local officials about how to dispose of this. And one final thing, please don't forget to subscribe if you like what you see here. I do how-to videos, and I'm going to do some more. So subscribe, like, share, and thanks again. Remember the restaurant?
Yeah. Yeah, a little field.
Yeah, I think that's what that was.
What's that?
That's the canoe.
Oh, the donut.
That's you. Where? Oh, yeah.
For a second, it looked like it was ice, and then that hole, those holes that you fish in, ice fishing.
Oh, yeah, but we didn't do that.
That would be so cold. There's like me, because John's so scared.
Well, that's the other nice thing about film is that you kind of forget what you took. So when you develop it, you get to see it all. Is that John?
Yep.
Yeah, that's John in the field.
Can't see up there though. And Bella's up there.
Up there's Mommy.
And Bella.
Bella?
With me.
Yep. It's you and Bella.